Hello, and welcome back to Talk with Coach, the podcast where we deep dive into the realms of sales, leadership, and personal growth. I'm your host, Becca Goldsberry, an elite sales and leadership coach, proudly representing Southwestern Consulting. I am thrilled to embark on another insightful journey with you guys today. Whether you're a seasoned professional aiming to sharpen your skills or an aspiring leader hungry for knowledge, this podcast is your compass to success. Join me as we explore the strategies, tactics, and mindset shifts necessary to thrive in a competitive landscape of sales and leadership. Get ready to unlock your potential, seize opportunities, and conquer challenges like never before. So buckle up. Let's embark on this transformative voyage together. Welcome to Talk with Coach. So I love meeting fun people. Those of you guys who know me, I love meeting fun, interesting, and relatable people. Today, my guest is one of those types of people. I was actually referred to her by a friend and a past client, Miss Katie Hughes. And instantly, this person and we clicked. And she invited me to come to her BNI chapter so I can meet more of her network. What happened and transpired after that BNI network at lunch was a fantastic time where we laughed, especially at Randy, I think almost the whole entire time. And since then, she and I have had amazing conversations and realized that we actually have connections in common from Seymour, Indiana, where I grew up. And she has family down there. And so I am excited to introduce you all to the brilliant, fun-loving, and someone who has a big heart to help others. Please welcome Lydia Chastain. Welcome.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Becca. That was so sweet. I appreciate all the kind words. You're so nice.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I want to share with everybody just a little bit about your background, what I think is just absolutely fascinating and so fun. So let me put on my readers as I read some of your introduction here. And so just to tell you guys a little bit more about Lydia, she has a background as the FTZ marketing manager at Indiana's or IN Zone. She has valuable experience from her previous role as the marketing and communications director from Fortune Academy here in Indianapolis. And she was there for 3 years enhancing the institution's outreach amongst the city. And she did an amazing job, let me tell you. And she actively participates in Young Professionals Network here in Indianapolis. She recently graduated from the International Center's James T. Morris Global Leadership Cohort. Wow, say that 10 times fast, Lydia.
Right.
And actively contributes to NAFTZ's social media communications and advocacy committees. She's from Greenwood, Indiana here, and I love this. I did not realize you were the founding mother of Kappa Psi Sigma Kappa chapter
One of the
at
many,
IPI.
yes.
That is
Yes.
awesome. That
Yes,
is awesome.
I was a founding mentor, founding member and a founding mother there at the Sigma Kappa chapter, and actually the founding historian. So one of many girls that helped make that work, but it was one of the coolest experiences to bring a sorority from top to bottom in college. It was great.
Wow, that is amazing. And then she has diverse experiences that have taken her from Chicago to Poland. All right, fill us in. You're going to have to fill us in about Poland. And then
Yeah.
she has an amazing partner, Sean, and their dogs, Diana and Pippin, right? So
Yes.
fill us in about how you've got these amazing experiences to Poland and Chicago. Fill us in.
Yeah, so let's just take it back to the beginning. We're going to blame it all on my parents, why I'm so diverse and why I have so many experiences. So my parents actually met in Chicago. My mom is an immigrant to the country from Poland, and she met my father, who's from Indiana there. So my family still lives in Chicago. My mom had some family immigrate after her. She was the first one. So had some family that immigrated after her. And so we still have some family up there. But after they got married, my family came down here to Indiana. But my mom and dad agreed it was super important for us kids to really culturally know where we came from and where my mom came from. And so we ended up, since the minute I could barely breathe, I was out of my mom and on a plane going to Poland, visiting my grandparents. And every year since then, my entire life, been going back and forth. So that's where the Leżańsk Poland comes in from. I'm from the Leżańsk School. I speak fluent Polish too. So love it. Absolutely love it over there. If you haven't been, it's the most green, most beautiful, picturesque place in the entire world. So then after that, with family in Chicago, I moved up there right after college and started working, and missed home, missed Indiana so much. So decided to come back, and here I am. Tons of experiences within the city, but started out in Chicago, which was great.
That is awesome. So I did my undergrad in Chicago, loved my time in Chicago as well. Now, I have traveled around Europe quite a bit, and Poland is still on my list. My freshman year of high school, I went to a boarding Lutheran high school out in Concordia, Missouri, and one of the exchange students was from Poland, and Sebastian and I became really good friends. And so we're still on Facebook together, and it's still on my bucket list to go and visit for
Yeah, you
sure.
should. It's easy for Americans to go over there and travel. It's a very welcoming country, and a lot of people speak English. So it makes it, even if
Mhm.
you're not fluent like I am and lucky in that regard, you can still go over there and definitely travel and have a wonderful time. And they love Americans. So it's a great place to go.
I was gonna say, most Europe does, and it's very cool because Europe's like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't speak the language. It's okay. Almost everything is translated in English too. It's fine.
And with
You're,
our phones anymore, you can type in a word and it'll tell you exactly what you need to know.
isn't it amazing? Like we've got a computer in our hands with our phones. Like,
Yeah.
just so cool. I love the quote. So your favorite quote cracks me up. Like, so you guys, I got to share, unless you know it by heart. But her favorite
Yeah,
quote.
I'll mess it up. It's too
Okay,
long.
okay. Her favorite quote is from Parks and Rec, you guys, and it's Leslie. Is it Amy Poehler's character,
Yeah,
Leslie?
Leslie Knope. Yeah.
Yep. And she says in season 6, episode 10, to be exact, you guys can now go find it. But she says, in times of stress or moments of transition, sometimes it can feel like the whole world is closing in on you. When that happens, you should close your eyes, take a deep breath, and listen to the people that love you when they give you advice, and remember what really matters. Deep food for thought there, like
Yeah.
by, Amy's character. That's a fantastic quote.
Unexpected from Parks and Rec in some ways, right?
I was like, when I read that, I'm like, did that really come out of Park and Rec? Like that was deep thoughts.
Yeah, so if anybody is wanting to know about that episode, it's her regards to a trip to Paris. So I took it out of the quote, but at the very end she goes, "If not, you can always go to Paris." And so that is a special show to me. First of all, as an Indiana girl and being so proud of where I come from, I find a lot of myself in Leslie. And growing up being kind of so erratic to some people and just having a big personality, I definitely fit that kind of vibe with her. But with that in tow, I feel like we have so much information anymore just
Mm,
surrounding us. And there's so many people giving us advice, and there's so many people wanting to talk to us about stuff or lead us down a path. And there's 20 million you can go down. And I feel that, especially as a woman, there are even more open paths for me that I don't know what the outcome's going to be, like some other individuals might have. So for me to be able to sit back and take a deep breath and really listen to those people who are my mentors, who are people I strive to be like in business, who are my parents, who are my best friends, to take that deep breath and remind myself, close your eyes and breathe, take a quick moment, and it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to. And when all that information is running through your brain, pick out the comfortable people for you. Pick out people you know and love and who have never steered you wrong in the past before. Those are the ones who are going to pick you up. And so when I have that quote, actually ever since I've heard it, it's been in every single cubicle of mine or every office of mine. And it hangs on my computer right next to where I can see it. So when I'm in those stressful transition moments during the day or during my job or life or career, I can just have that little reminder for myself.
oh, I love that. Speaking of best advice, What is the best business advice that you've ever received?
So it's from my dad, really, and I wrote it down from him exactly the way he wrote it to me, and I want to give him justice and read it the way he put it as well. But when I was struggling a while back with one of my first management jobs, my dad's been a manager for many years. I reached out to him in translation with that quote, right? Who do you love? Who do you respect? And who do you count on? I love and respect my father to the utmost. And he wrote this to me, and I'll read it to you. Realize that not everyone will see eye to eye with you or approve of all of your choices. The most important thing at the end of each day is knowing you've done your best and upheld the highest standards of your integrity. And that just hits me like a bolt every time I read it. It's so true, and it's such a good, I think, landmark spot for me to know,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not going to have everybody agree with me today. It's going to be a tough day. But did I uphold my morals, my integrity, and my values? And did I do the best to my ability?
I love that. And I did an exercise recently. I am going through the ICF certification for coaches right now. And one of the things that we did was there's like this huge list of like, I swear it's almost like 100 different types of values. And you had to pick your top five out of a
So
hundred.
hard. It's so
Oh my gosh.
hard.
And one of my top ones was integrity.
It's
And
important.
it is so important. You know, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Whether that's for your spouse, your kids, business, friends, family, whoever. If you say you're going to do something, then do it. And do we all do that 100%? Probably not, but at least try,
I
right?
mean, I
Like,
fail all the time. I
all
am the
right.
queen of over yesing, right? I mean, I love being able to say yes. I'm an energizer bunny. I feel like I'm always running around. But I fail sometimes. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's admitting that failure and saying, I'm not perfect. I didn't do right. And part of having integrity is showing up for those failures the same way you show up for those successes. And being able to sit down in your failure and said, I did wrong is as much as having as much integrity as sitting there and doing something right. And so as long as we sit on those values and we follow that high, I guess whatever trait you want to utilize, right? Whatever value you want
Right.
to utilize, ours together is integrity. But if you hold on to that and you treat that in that the best way you can, the whole thing's easy. Because then you build trust. You have a good face value for your clients. Let's take it to business, right? You're building trust with your clients. You have good face value with your clients. You're getting things done that you say you're going to get done. You're not over promising and under delivering. So it's the base.
Absolutely. Which leads me to what is the one business tip that you tell everybody if they asked you how to grow your business or how to do, business well? What's the one business tip that you tell people?
It's a tough one, but when you're scared, go forward, keep moving forward. I've had the best experiences in my life when I've not listened to that little piece of my gut
Mm,
saying, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you don't have the experience. I'm 30 years old. I am in a great spot in my career and have done a lot in my career, and I have so much more still to learn and so much more to do. However, I've grown the most when my stomach's sitting there saying, you can't do this. An example, I went from the marketing director of a small school where I enhanced the education for students. I helped bring more students in, helped with fundraising, grant writing. I'm
yep.
now working in import export trade. So helping customers and clients save time and money when they're importing and exporting out of the state. Something that seems like it would be completely out of my realm. My stomach was aching. I was so sweaty in that interview. I will never forget. I felt so gross walking out of there. And I'm like, I'm never going to get this job. And here I am wearing the brand on my chest, right? And
Mhm.
the basic concepts are all the same of the marketing tactics that I would utilize. It's the understanding of the job.
That's
But if
right.
I would have listened to that gut in my stomach saying, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I don't have the experience, I wouldn't be here. Same thing goes that if you feel like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that opportunity. Maybe my guts, again, that gut feeling, right? It's like, maybe I shouldn't take that opportunity. Maybe I shouldn't go over on that across the country for that job. Do it. You're going to have the coolest experience ever. And if you fail, there's integrity in failing.
I love that. And that's, I think, one of the things I admire about you most is your gumption, just to like, let's fail forward. Let's just go do this.
Yeah. Who hasn't?
Exactly. Well, and if you haven't, are you still stuck where you don't want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I would
Yeah.
contend most people are.
I would agree with that. And I'm going to go a little trendy here for a second because I'm a huge Swiftie. But Taylor Swift, she's written how many hits, right? She's a global superstar, has one of the biggest concert tours, bringing some of the largest economic impact to cities that we've seen in decades. And that girl didn't write a million hits. She failed. Her entire discography got sold off to somebody and she had no ownership of it. Did she just sit down and say she wasn't going to do it anymore? No, she dusted off and re-recorded every single one of those songs and is now one of the most extremely rich women and talented singers of our generation in time.
Mm.
So yes, that's an extreme example of somebody, but why can't we take that and put it into our everyday life? Why can't I have the same style and want to do good in my life as she does?
I love that. So tell us more about End Zone. I want people to understand like your job right now is so fun and so fascinating to me. You know, me and my business mind, I just kind of think like, oh my gosh, like you get to do so many cool things. I would love for you just share with everybody a little bit about End Zone and what they do, especially for the state of Indiana and actually the impact it has on the world too.
Yeah, so I geek out over my job. I think it's fun. So if I get a little too in depth, just tell me to stop.
No, you're good. You're good.
So InZone really is a foreign trade zone. So we are the grant of authority for foreign trade zones for 42 counties here in the state of Indiana. What that means is that the United States government, essentially back during the Great Depression, they had no money. So they had to look to other foreign entities for money. So they had this concept that if you bring your business to the United States, you hire our workers, our Americans. If you hire them, we'll give you a discount on tariffs, some taxes, kind of help you out in some ways, and try to help you figure that out so that we can make money and you can still make money at a profitable amount. Program worked really well, helped us get out of the depression for a little while, but then kind of fell off the wayside and people forgot about it until automotive came into view. Automotive manufacturing really utilized FTZ to the utmost, and that started in the 1970s, really pushing into the 80s. And especially that happened because when you're on a manufacturing line for a car, you have so many different objects that go onto that vehicle coming from so many different places. You have duty fees, you have tax fees, you have tariff fees on that. You might have customs and border patrol fees on that. You could have docking fees, all kinds of different things. The foreign trade zone really takes all of those expenditures that you have in import export taxes and import export fees, and it helps your business eliminate some of them or minimize some of them. You have two different options. So say you are, I'll give you some two examples. You are building, we'll go back to cars. You're bringing in some bolts and nuts from Taiwan. You're going to import it into Indiana, make a car out of it, and that car is now going to go into Canada, and that's where it's sold. The car is never going to hit our commerce stream. And so with that, the United States government's willing to look at it and say, okay, you're hiring our employees, you're utilizing our workers and helping our economy by giving them a job and money. Even though it's not hitting our commerce stream, you're still helping us. So we will go ahead and eliminate some duties for you. So we'll take an overall percentage of the duties that you are accruing and we'll only charge you 2 to 3% of those duties. This does range for all kinds of businesses and different individuals depending on who they are. But that's an example of how they might eliminate some of those charges for them. Another really cool way that we see it is through merchandise processing fees. So those MPF charges, they usually are brought in through a port of authority. And depending, let's say, how many containers you bring in, you have a specific charge per. So it could be a 3.58% rate of the amount of items inside of that unit that you have. So the government will then say, okay, so you've brought in 9 of those containers. Instead of charging you 3% on every single one of those containers, we're only going to charge you for the first 1 or 2 within a 30-day period. or 1 or 2 within a 7-day period. So that, and then they will eliminate those charges for you. So those can be eliminated or reduced.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Very
if
cool.
you, I don't know if we can cut and paste, but I can explain that a little better too if we need to edit a little
Oh,
bit.
you're good. You're good. We just keep rolling, and we just put the whole thing on. So
Awesome.
you are good. Well, and it reminds me too the impact the ports do have. And just this week we had that tragic accident in Baltimore happen.
Hmm.
With uh, I mean, how tragic. But now we're hearing about what the domino effect is, because the port's saying, we've got to look at how do we transport to other ports what was coming in and coming out. Talk to us a little bit about like some of the challenges that you guys face in growing the end zone here for Indiana.
Yeah, so taking what happened in Baltimore as an example, so Baltimore is one of our top 20 ports within the United States. They have a heavy infrastructure and technology infrastructure there that lends itself really well to automotive import and export. Baltimore, for an example, with the Francis Scott Key Bridge falling down, you've now, because of the shallow water and the debris within the field, you've now, I guess a great way, an example to put it is you've clogged the artery. So you've really stopped an artery to the heart of the logistics and shipping supply chain for the United States. It's not as simple as saying, okay, now just go over here, we'll unload you and load you on. You have to look at the infrastructure and the technology. On top of that, you now have 8 or 10 boats that are sitting in port in Baltimore that aren't able to leave either. So what's happening to all of those units and items that should be out and being in our supply chain? What happens to those items? Because it is a large company that might be ordering these items or a small company that's ordering these items. You don't know based on the units. These are large ships that are about a mile in length.
Right.
And just what you see on top, all of that cargo on top is also on the bottom of the container. It's top to bottom with cargo containers. So depending on the units of that ship, you could be looking at tens of thousands of tons of materials waiting to be brought in or out of the United States. Additionally, that Baltimore has a huge and heavy coal infrastructure that they export out coal. So that's a huge now problem. Where are we going to get all that from? It's not like we just have it sitting around. So when you lose a large artery like that, you're going to have to look at who can take on those different ships now. So you're looking at a New York, or you're looking at a New Orleans or a Houston. There might be closer, but those are the ones that are coming to mind. They can handle that infrastructure and that technology, but you have a now boat a mile or longer in length that's going to take time to come into that. So you're having companies, maybe not in zone specifically because we're not the actual import exporter, but you have companies that we work with that are now going to have to look at their supply chain and say, where can we get these items from? Is it something locally that's going to cost us more money? Is it something now that we get it from a different location and airship it in, where it may not cost us more money for the product, but it'll logistically cost us more money to get here? And the time frame also is lost as well for your clients. So those are kind of some of the hurdles and the structuring that you'll see is orders being put on hold, lack of supply and units being able to get places in a routine manner, in a timely manner. And then really the next question is, when are we going to be able to reopen that port and get that artery removing and get those boats in and out of port? So that's kind of the intricacies that you're seeing in Baltimore. Dealing with end zones specifically, we're really landlocked here in Indiana. So if you're looking at foreign trade zones, we're number 7 and 8 for import export relatively in the nation for foreign trade zones. If you're looking at ports of authority, our St. Joseph's Bay port and our St. Louis ports and New Albany area ports on the Mississippi River, or I apologize, on the Ohio River, those ports down there, we're still in the top 30 nationally in some of those ports, even though we're landlocked. So we see a lot of coming in to port on a cargo ship from up north or down south, and then trucking in or training in. And so you see the railroads still active here in Indiana. You see cargo ship containers always on trains here in Indiana. And then additionally to that, you're going to see the trucking industry really strong as well. 70 and 65 are really strong for us to be able to utilize, as well as 69 for those industries.
Well, I was going to say 69 is really kind of making a game changer, especially coming from, like Memphis, Evansville, in areas where otherwise they would have had to reroute, across 64 and up 65 and do different routes. Just adding Highway 69 or Interstate 69 is really probably making a huge impact, making it shorter in
I
some areas.
would assume so. I don't have the knowledge from previously from when wasn't here, right? And I haven't gone
Yeah,
back to look at some of
yeah.
that information, but I would assume so because it really does open up that northeast quadrant and that southwest quadrant to
Hmm.
have a more channeled intersection of travel going straight through. You don't have to come all the way across and all the way up
Right.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face, in your job there with InZone?
So I'm really realistically a one person team. I do have one half of me. Her name's Daphne. She's my admin assistant and she does a lot of really amazing things for me. But really, there's only one of me. So I'm marketing to lead economic developers. I'm marketing to regional economic developers. I'm marketing to CEOs, COOs, and heads of companies. And having to get the information out to people is a time consuming thing because the program, while it's great and has been around for a very long time, it's not universally well known at this point.
Okay.
And for being a very robust program in Indiana, it's not very well known. I'm still meeting people every day who know nothing about this program. And the way that it can help a 4-person, 5-person company who's importing and exporting, all the way up to a 500,000, 600,000 person company, right? There's
Yeah.
all kinds of employers all over the nation. We have billions of people employed in FTZs. So my biggest hurdle right now is getting to the people who could really benefit from the program and save money to route it into their employees in a timely fashion. I would say secondarily is time. Wish I always had more time.
Yeah.
It's a fast moving program. We're working in the government, so the policies are slow, but the program is fast. So while it might take you a while to get into the program, I'm constantly speaking about it, constantly looking at how tariffs and logistics in our supply chains are being handled. I'm consistently looking at world affairs and is another country looking at bringing up another product that we handle a lot here in Indiana or in the United States. How is that going to affect us? Those are probably, like I said, for time consistent strains. Those are my biggest hurdles right there. It's just keeping up and
Okay.
having the ability to do everything I want.
I was going to say, when you told me about your job, I was like, what is that? Like, I had no clue about it even.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a unique and an amazing program that really can help build the commerce here in Indiana. So hopefully, and we'll put like your contact information in the link below for everybody so they can reach out to you if they've got a business that needs your services, because I think what you guys do for the state is just absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, if you are importing or exporting in manufacturing or distribution, you really should look into the program. InZone for a manufacturer will give you $5,000 for a feasibility study, and for a distributor will give you $2,500 for a feasibility study to see if this program will even work within your facility. So it really is something to look into, and a lot of people say it, but there's really nothing lost, but maybe 30 to 45 minutes of your time. But again, the education needs to be there. And it's kind of surprising. We've talked about Seymour already a little bit, and I'm going to shout out Wetzel Properties. Hey, Clayton. That's one of my besties. But even being from Seymour, with there being such a manufacturing boom in Southern Indiana, you would think you'd hear about it, but you haven't at all.
No, and that's what blew me away because we've got Ison and Cummins and all of those manufacturers down there and had no clue.
Yeah. And
No,
Toyota Material Handling is part of our zone. So,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So I know you are an avid reader and tend to read. I love this. You read about a book a week, sometimes two.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what is your number one book that you read all the time or over and over again?
Pride and
Is
Prejudice.
right. It's
Done.
classic.
Classic. Pride and Prejudice. I watch it. I read it. I love the BBC original version. Also love the Keira Knightley version. And then I'll read it over and over again. It was one of the first books I ever read. So
I love that. And then, is there any good business books or anything that you've recently read that you loved?
I would say the mission myth would be one that I really have loved from a business book. It's looking at your nonprofit and the mission for your nonprofit and looking at the myths behind why we have certain missions within our society and how to kind of transform that for a new decade and
Ooh.
a new rural world. Sorry. So love that one. But then on a personal note, Perfect People Everywhere, Ashley Flowers. I just finished that one in the last week and a half and literally read it within 24 hours. If you are a crime junkie or you love thriller in any way, pick up this book, All Good People Everywhere. Just go grab it. It is absolutely incredible. Ashley Flowers did a great job. I think for me, what I loved about it was A, the story, and B, the voice. I felt like the character's voice was so strong. And when a book has that, I'm done for.
Yeah. So it sounds like you may have found a new book that you'll read off and on again and again.
Yeah, I will. Every once in a while, I'll pick up a new one. So I'm reading right now, like One Day in December, and I kind of have now started it and stopped it two or three times, and I get a little further each time and then forget and have to go back and read it. Or I'll just finish a book and reread it just for the fun of it. But
Oh,
I
I love
love
that. I love that.
reading. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts? With everything happening, this is a political year, right? And I know I've heard there's different bills coming in and out. What are your thoughts on the future of your industry, and how do you guys plan to adapt and stay, current on all of these changes that could be happening within the next year or so?
Yeah, so I think for us, when you're looking at the political scheme and you're looking more at the logistics viewpoint of thing, we're getting a lot into what foreign countries do we work with, do we not work with, and especially here in Indiana, we've heard a lot of that lately. So I
Mm,
think for us as a business, the best thing for us to do is just watch and see what are our legislators going to do? What are the people that we've voted in and people we've asked to be in charge? What are they planning on doing? Are they listening to our voices? And from a personal matter, that's one standpoint, right? But then Indiana
yeah.
being so strong in business and being such a strong business climate, what do we want for the future of Indiana? I think those are the couple things to watch within our industry specifically,
Okay.
because the way that we work with foreign entities and the way that we work with other countries is going to be really important to the way that we continue to bring in foreign domestic investment into our state. We have a high amount of Japanese investment in our state and one of the highest in the nation, actually. And so when you're looking at working with our partners in the West, how is that affected? Something just to look at as an example, right? Is that affected in any way? How would it be affected? Let's look at the news and see who's coming here, who can we meet up with, not meet up with, that kind of thing. So,
I love that. So, what is your biggest achievement so far at End Zone or personally? Because you've got some cool things coming up too.
yeah, I will say twofolded. Personally, was speaking at national convention, my first national convention I ever got to speak at in Miami, Florida this past year. So really excited to be able to do that. It was my first year within the association. So getting that honor was
Mm,
blown away by that. I got to speak about shoring and near shoring and reshoring and how we can look at it to the future of helping to sustain our economy and bring businesses back to America to hire employees here on American soil. So that was a really cool program to be part of. And we even looked at the Walmart initiative that they've done with working with companies here in America, bringing them into Walmart, giving them shelf space, helping them with marketing, and really looking at those programs that have been deployed and how to maybe look those over and how can we implement those in our own businesses. So that for a personal level was really cool for me to be able to speak on. And again, first time ever. So check that off the list, bucket list item, which is
right.
always fun.
Done.
Yes.
Check.
And then I would say probably the coolest thing that I've done, I'm going to change it a little bit, make it the coolest
Okay.
thing I've done at End Zone because I'm so proud of it. But it's really a reflection of my team and all the work that we've done being a small team is we've been working on these foreign domestic investment videos with the IEDC in conjunction with them here and the chamber and Visit Indy. So really cool set of foreign domestic investment videos. Did a lot of them, have multiple different versions now tailored to specific countries in general. So if you're from France or you're from Spain or you're from England or you're from Japan, you can find a culturally competent video talking about foreign domestic investment here within Indiana and why you should bring your company here. But the coolest thing that we just finished is we're actually now translating those into their specific languages. So, as an example, we've done one for Spain already, and we've done one for France already, and we just finished Japan. So, being able to work with translators and hearing all these cool sounding languages and seeing how they speak and the way the words are formed and the way that the translation comes out has been so cool and has really opened my eyes to some cool things within cultures I wouldn't think about before. So
That is fun. That sounds like an amazing opportunity just to learn more about the different type of cultures that you guys are trying to bring in to help our economy grow here in Indiana.
it's really cool to see. I think our state and our city has, and our elected individuals have done a great job of working with FDI to bring it in. And we just saw that the IEDC just released yesterday, I believe, that another $20.8 billion in investment is coming to Indiana. And for us to have that achievement is incredible and just makes me proud to be from the state and from the city and see how we're actually growing. And we're not little old Indiana anymore. We need to start not being so humble and start bragging on ourselves a little bit more.
I would agree with that for sure. And then personally, you've got some things that are coming up that you're going to be a part of moving forward, right?
Yes. So, as we've already mentioned, even though it's a mouthful, I just did finish up the International Center's James T. Morris Global Business Series, and I was a cohort of theirs this past season. And I'm actually moving forward in the springtime this year. I will be joining the Indiana Conference for Women's Leadership, their cohort, which will be the inaugural leadership cohort for them. So really excited. Myself, as well as another individual from the airport, were asked to be a part of that, and excited to work more with Tracy and really deep dive into the business leaders and the women that are here in Indiana and see how I can learn from them, because I'm one of them. So I want to see how I can be a better woman leader for the women that are going to come up from underneath me.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
when we're not working, when we're not trying to grow Indiana's economy, what are some of the things that you love to do to relax, or when you've got time off? What are some of the favorite things other than reading your phenomenal book habit?
Yeah. So I'm a big outdoorsy girl. I discovered camping. Pre-COVID, I discovered camping. And then with COVID, just kind of went headfirst into it just because I had nothing really else to do. So avid camper and hiker. And my boyfriend, my partner, Sean, and I were actually trying to knock off all the state parks within Indiana. So once we finish off all the Indiana state parks, we're going to go over to Ohio, which is his home state, and knock off all the state parks over there. Then we'll go national. But that's kind of our goal, is before we're too old and our backs are hurting too much, to be able to tent camp in those two states and all the state parks at least.
I love that. I have another client, Ryan. He's a big Jeep guy, so they do a lot of
Oh
camping,
yeah.
and they'll take the Jeep, right, and do all of that fun stuff too. So
So
that
had a Jeep, fun fact for you, was my second car. And this
okay.
isn't in any of the notes. There's no way you're going to be able to know this. But when
So
I had my first Jeep, I actually took a semester off of school and I traveled across the states. And I
mm,
didn't go west. I went north to south and east a little bit, but I checked off a
okay.
bunch of states, and I ended up sleeping in my Jeep for most of the time. Poor college kid, didn't want to get a motel or a hotel. So
Nope.
locked the doors in my Jeep, put up an air mattress, laid down the seats in my Jeep, and hung out by my favorite place ever was sleeping at St. Augustine Beach. Just rolled. There's a
Okay.
little area down south of there where you can bring your cars on, and it was great down there by in between the St. Augustine and Daytona. Just open
Yeah.
up the windows and you're laying in the back seat of that Jeep. Ryan's doing it right.
Yep. Absolutely. I love that. Well, I know in the colder months you do like to check out some good breweries here and good restaurants too.
I do. So big foodie. I'm actually a Yelp Elite member. So I love being able to go try out new restaurants and write reviews. I find I think it's fun here in the city, especially a city like Indiana where
Oh
you
yeah.
have good restaurants and good service. I rarely get to write a bad review. So, love being able to do that. Some of my favorites, I'll go ahead and just shout them out,
Yeah,
but
shut them out.
okay, restaurants, we're going to go with Livery. If you haven't been to Livery, you have to go. Their skirt steak, their empanadas, and their cauliflower will be the best thing you ever ate. And then I'm going to go to Bodhi for some pad thai and some curry. Love going there on Mass Ave. And then we're going to go ahead and I'll also shout out Dugout on Mass Ave.
Mhm.
Not sorry, Dugout in Fletcher Avenue. I'm sorry. It's a hole in the wall bar. It's 3-4 part bar. It's been around forever. One of the older bars in Indy. Go there, get some of their cheese poppers. So good. And then coming out of the city, can't ever go wrong with Ale Emporium wings. Absolutely love their food. So
I was going to say Dugout. That's not too far from Bluebeard, right?
it's not. It's less than a block away from
Yeah, I
Bluebeard.
was going to say,
So
okay, that's the one right next to Bluebeard. So shout out to Bluebeard. That's one of my favorite
oh, love
date
it. And they
night
just got
dinners.
another James Beard Award too.
I know. So look at Indianapolis restaurants go.
We're
You,
doing good.
I know, I know, foodies here. But so the last question I always love asking people, what is the funniest story that you can share with us, Lydia, about growing up?
Okay, can I tell you this was the hardest question to
Okay.
answer for me?
Yep.
So I actually reached out to my mom and I was like, what is the funniest story you can think of for a podcast? So I'm actually gonna give you two because it's per her
Okay.
request, if that's okay.
Okay. Yep.
Um,
Perfect.
Mamush had the request, so I gotta say
Gotta
it.
do
So
it. Yes, mom.
first time was when she sent me to summer camp for the first time on my own ever. I went to a camp down in Columbus, Indiana, the youth camp down there. And we were driving home, and she said I was being kind of secretive, couldn't figure out why I was so off. Figured I was just kind of sad from coming home from camp. So week goes by, I'm doing okay, but she said there's still something off with me and she couldn't figure it out. So I was at school one day and she was cleaning my room. I'm in elementary school at this point. She's cleaning my room and she hears a frog in the room. And so she's looking everywhere, can't figure it out from anywhere. Inside of my camp issued, I believe my camp issued water bottle, I had made basically a mini terrarium for this frog, and he had been living like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks under my bed. And and my mom found him and she couldn't believe that I had found this frog. And she says, you, and I remember this too. I was like, I don't understand the problem. She said, I came home and I was like, yeah, what's the point? She goes, Lydia, this frog has to go outside. He belongs outside. And I just loved animals so much. I couldn't figure out that that frog needed to be outside and not with me. And
Oh,
then
girl.
on the reverse side of that story, another summer, I decided I was going to have some pet ants, which as an adult makes me cringe. But I decided I was going to have some pet ants. And my mom came into my room and I was sneaking the animals in my room again. And I had my Tupperware out and I was frantically trying to cover it. I spilled the ants everywhere. And my mom says
Oh,
all she remembers is me screaming, nobody move! Nobody move an inch! You're going to step on my ants!
ants of all things, you were saving
Yeah,
the ants.
the ants. So huge animal lover, always have been, always will be. But those are two. My mom said I was like 6 and 5 at the time, so I was a really young kid. But
Oh my
she goes,
god.
those are the two that, and she always says there's always the one that everyone hears about me holding my bottle for the first time by myself. I was less than 2 weeks old, and just sitting there holding a bottle on my own. So those are the kind of stories that everyone hears.
Mom, thank you for the stories. Those were
Yeah.
amazing. And girl, you can tell from one country girl to another country girl. That's when you know you grew up in the country, when we're saving frogs and ants.
When we're saving frogs and ants, and
Okay.
you're living in the country as a mama when your daughter's bringing you frogs every day, like, look what you have, look what I have.
Well, that's 5. And even though we don't live in the country, my son, I swear, he has found every grub worm already this spring and every worm, and they're in the plastic container, but I have made him keep them outside. So
That's
they're
where they belong.
where they belong, because otherwise I would have grubs and worms all over the house. It would be bad. It would just be really bad. So,
Sounds like my mother's life. I know it's going to come back to me tenfold, doesn't it, when I
yeah.
have kids one day. And I cannot wait to be out there in the mud getting those grubby little animals with my
Oh,
daughter.
you're going to be a phenomenal mom Sunday. So, but
Can't wait.
Lydia, thank you so much for being on and just sharing with all of us more about End Zone, and something that I would say most of us listening to this had no idea we had this in our back door. And so thank you for all that you guys do and helping us grow our economy.
Of course. And thank you, Becca, for doing this podcast. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for everyone to be able to listen to you. You're such a great
Oh,
mentor and a coach to so many people in the community.
thank
And
you.
I can't wait I know this podcast is going to just jump off. And thank you for all you do for all of us females here,
Hey,
especially all of us Southside country girls, right? We got to stick together.
we have to stick together. Absolutely. One absolutely phenomenal woman to another. So, but everybody, this wraps up another amazing and powerful episode of Talk with Coach. I hope you found today's podcast valuable and actionable. Remember, growth is a journey and every step forward counts. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on my YouTube channel and on Spotify for more inspiring content. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, or topic suggestions by reaching out to us on social media or through our website. Until next time, keep striving for greatness, keep pushing your limits, and remember your success story is waiting to be written. This is Becca Goldsberry signing off. Take care and make it a blessed day.